All right, so this little exercise will allow us to connect the Postgres backend to the Python-based graphical user interface. In this case, Jupyter Notebook. If you've never used Jupyter Notebook, I mean, you can get from anaconda.com. Uh, just go to anaconda.com and go all the way to free download, and you should be able to download a whole bunch of a whole bunch of stuff, including a Jupyter Lab and Jupyter Notebook. You can use either or in some cases, you can also use Colab, which is the Google-based thing. But for this particular exercise, I'm going to show you on how to do it on the Jupyter Notebook, right? So once you hit free download, it takes about a bunch of minutes, like 5 minutes, around 5 minutes. And after that, you should be able to see um, the whole thing downloaded. And if you go to your thing, I have it here, Anaconda. You should see something like Anaconda Navigator, right? So if you hit that, you can see different tools. It looks something like this, and out of that, hit a Jupyter Notebook, and it'll look like something like this. You can also do Jupyter Notepad as well. Okay, so we are doing our purpose here. I'm just gonna expand it a little bit here. Our purpose here is to connect Postgres to this user interface. So first thing first, you need to install a library that does all these beautiful things. Install library, and I've already installed it, but for in your case, you should do pip install IPython, which is this one, to SQL. There's a connector, and PCPSYCOPG2, right? So this is the library. I've already installed it, but go ahead and hit run. Once you hit it, the code runs in block. So if you look at moments earlier, you saw the star. In some cases, once it turns into numerical value, it's done, right? So it is satisfied. I've already done it. So if you want to remove this output for you to go to the next line, it looks cleaner. Hit O on your keyboard, and it should go away. All right. So it's already installed in my case. So kindly install it. Have this precise command. The second thing we do is enable it for SQL syntax. And this is something that is a good practice. So again, it's a syntax. Essentially, what this is telling us is that load extension SQL, meaning that now let's get ready for SQL commands on this platform. So hit that. Okay. Now, we need a bunch of things. So, Postgres is running in the background for us. So I'm going to go back to my Postgres. And Postgres, when you clicked on the servers, you should have propagated or prompted you to ask for password. So you put the password in. You have a bunch of databases. In my case, I have a database called Postgres. The username is Postgres again. So it's a lot of repetition here. So, that's how I know. So there are a bunch of things you need. So before you set it up, setting up for connection. So what you need is name of the database, name of the user, which is Postgres. You need a password, which is root1. Again, so this is a controlled environment, so you're not going to worry about my password. The server, name of the server, well, in this case, it's localhost. So my setup is forcing you to run or access Postgres that is locally hosted on my my computer. If it's like external IP, you would do the IP address of that person, that thing, right? So whatever is the IP address, but in my case, it's going to be localhost. The port number that SQL Postgres stocks, in this case, it's 5432. It's pretty standard. And then what database I am going to log in. So in my case, it's again Postgres. How do I know? Because I created a database called Postgres somewhere around here. Right, so it could have been test, it could have been anything else. Okay, so we have all this information now. We can locally connect it. So the syntax here is again Postgres. Okay, this one S. I make that mistake all the time. // and username Postgres. Password root1. And once you have this combination, where are you going? Well, I'm going to localhost. Through what port? 5432. Into what database? Postgres, right? If you just hit this, most likely you'll hit into error. So let's do that here. And it's complaining that it is, something's off here. Let's run it again. something's off here. It's not a Python command, so do something about it. That's what's telling you. So let's do it. So if you notice, for every SQL command to run in front, because you were taking SQL stuff and running it in here, you need something like this. Okay. So you always need to have percentage sign and then SQL. So that forces you, this command, to say that, hey, this is not from Python, but it's from it's connectivity back to the SQL command, right? So let's hit that run. And looks like something is complaining here. So let's kind of quickly look, what did we do wrong here? And what we did wrong here is we messed up the command. So as opposed to Postgres, it has to be Postgres SQL, right? With the single L, single S. So previously I just had that, but SQL. So once again, Postgres SQL hyphen, it should work now. Okay. So if you saw nothing, then it looks like it's awesome. It is working. So the connectivity has been established. If you saw a lot of comment, try to look what is happening and so forth. But if it's clean, you're good to go. So we've now make that connection, right? So we made that connection from your local Jupyter all the way back to the Postgres. Now let's go back to the table. Let's go back to the table, and this is the database we connected. And let's look at the table that's in here. I have a bunch of tables, and then let's focus on a table called countries. Let's see if this database or this database in here can speak to this guy in here, right? So even in a typical query, you would say select everything from countries, and this should work in here, right? If you went back here to your thing and then did this and then have the thing, this should technically work. It has like a bunch of different things that came out. Boom, looks like it's good and so forth. Let's see if the same thing works here, right? And again, it is giving invalid syntax. So if you notice, again, to my earlier comment, you always need this little element in the front. Now it should work. Okay, so boom. If you look at this output here, it is saying the connection was established and this was yielded. Okay, so boom, right off the bat, right away it worked because this thing also matches information here. So now you are pretty certain that you can do a lot of different things from this platform back in the backend. And the beauty of that is, in a bit, I'll show you what those mean, right? The beauty is that Python is suitable for data profiling. In other words, it is really awesome to kind of look into different things and see what values are missing, and it's quick. I mean, you could actually do the same thing in Postgres, but a little easier if you were working on the same platform and you're doing a lot of different connectivity. Is something pretty cool, right? If you've been doing Python, if you wanted to import a data, you do data equals something and you import from CSV whatever, and you put it in here, right? Some value of data, whatever it is, right? From Excel, from CSV, from you're actually creating arrays and so forth. Now let's take this file and put this in an array, right? So what we can do here is that we can say, listen, create a data frame called df, and actually put everything from the countries with this table, and put in a data frame. Now, and there's a reason why we do that, because now we can actually start doing a bunch of different analysis based on this, right? Because right now it's just pulling the data. This one is saving the data in this data frame, right? So hit run, and it looks like this data is now saved in here, right? Typically in Python, if you wanted to check the shape of the database, you would do data.shape, and it should yield something. So what that means is number of rows and number of columns, right? So typically you do show that. But the fact that this Python-based database is structured slightly differently, we need to do one more step, which is we need to ensure that when we call it, we need to call it df.dataframe, right? And then we can do all of them. So we're appending this little thing so that it knows that we're turning this SQL-based data set into a data frame, and then we can do stuff like that, right? So if we do head, and head means show me 4 entries, Uh, oops, here. So this is an error. You cannot write like that, but let's say head error. Doesn't have a head, data frame dot shape. Okay, yeah, I think I know what the problem is. So the syntax is something like this. Okay, so df dot data frame open bracket close bracket dot head, and it should show you the first four. Okay, so that tells you if you want to do tail, it shows you the last four. Okay, if you wanted to know the shape, number of rows and columns, just like I mentioned here, you do data frame open close bracket dot shape, and you can tell right away that there are 25 entries, rows, and 3 columns, which we kind of knew based on this. Okay. Now the beauty of this is something of a data profiling. I mean, it's not as easy to profile data on the on Postgres. So I mean, and Python is like super cool like that. It's super easy. I use a bunch of different data visualization tools. One of them is called SweetViz, and the other one is called Y Data Profiling. I'll show you. I'll show you how it goes in here. Okay. All right. So so let's go like again. If you haven't downloaded, which in this case I've already installed, you need to do pip install SweetViz. It stands for Suite Visualization. You can find documentation on it. I've actually done it. Through the other stuff, right? So you know, in this case, you just kind of install it for yourself, SweetViz. Okay. The fact that I've done it, so you know, I'll just avoid running it again so that we're a little faster here. But really, once you run it, once you install it, again, if you want to install it, you just do that and you'll install it. It'll take a bit of time. And what you do here is just installing is not enough in Pandas. You have to import it. Import SweetViz as SV. Okay, or you can just call it SweetViz, but I'm doing alias in here, right? Now, what do you? So the beauty is, you know, you can send the DF you created, and this will analyze the data. Okay, so it will look at a lot of different things. Okay, so what we can do here is report. Okay, create some sort of report, SV or SweetViz, whatever you want to call it, and then the command is analyze. It's right out of the vendor stuff. So DF, and remember the data frame, open close bracket. Boom. And this one line of command looks into this data frame and then uses its tool to kind of look into it, right? So this creates the report, and we want to see the report. The command is report dot show. And how do I know these things? Well, because the vendor documentation tells us this is how you do it, right? So hit run. And you should start doing something at some point, and it is complaining that something is happening here, and let's give it a look. Okay, so what is happening here is I put double frame in here. Okay, so you know, it's this data frame. I must have gotten excited there. So hit run, and once you know, boom, it was such a small data set. Once you know this green thing is done, it'll open the database. Look at this beauty. So it will tell you a bunch of different things. So if you have a lot of numerical databases, values, you can look at the correlation, which in this case, it's kind of difficult because there's some categorical variables, there's some dates and so forth. But if you go, there's 3 columns, country ID, country name, region ID. If you hit here, 4% is so it has a distribution. If you look at it here, it has a country name, a certain distribution, and the missing values and so forth, right? Looks like there's no missing value. So that right away, you will know that your data is kind of clean, right? I mean, this looks pretty simple, but imagine if you had like 50, 60 different rows, columns, and thousands of rows, this will just simulate and do things differently, right? Now, if you're doing this for your standard data frame, you don't need to put this part. So if you're doing just typical data frame for your data frame for your Python, then all you have to do it is that should work, right? So try it out and so forth. This is because it's just we're adding a different kind of file in the SQL stuff, right? So another data profiling stuff that I use is something called Y data profiling, slightly different, but let's look at that as well. Y data profiling, right? I'm gonna add the the link to the site here, so you can use this if you wanted more information. A lot of times the library is created by someone and you're just going to use it, right? So once you install it, again, I have already installed it. That's how so the code is Y data profiling, or if you run into issues, kindly go here and try to figure that out. All right. Okay. So that's that. So you install it, and obviously we need to import something from this profiling library, right? It has profile report. Okay, so profile report. So it's just a report that it's a way to call, just like how it is here. So let's run that here, and it's complaining that Y data is not there. Okay, so sounds like pretty weird. So let's try to install it again. Right, it's running through the thing. Let's see if it works. Okay, so again, it's complaining that something is happening. So let's give it a look. So oh yeah, here. So I missed that, and it's always a typo, right? So now it looks like it's probably going to work. All right. So in this case, we will create a different data frame, df1, again equals percentage SQL. Select, and you can have a bunch of all the conditions, right? You can not just DC command select, where, join, all that stuff. It can continue to go on forever, right? So let's try to find some other stuff, like let's say sales. Okay, sales here, and now let's use this data frame into turn this into a data frame, right? So like for our users, so df dot data frame and something like this. Let's see if it works. Okay, so it looks like only 13 rows is affected. Now for particular this program, so you would do profile equals, and they tell you how to do this, right? Profile report, and you do df1. So we've already converted into data frames. Let's run this, and again we also can open it. So profile, in this case, to file, and it's called data.html, right? So that is the standard. Let's try to see if it runs. Okay, so if you're getting something like this, it should run, but it's complaining that something happened here again. So let's try to see what exactly is the problem here. Okay. Okay, so it looks like some issues with the sales thing. So let's pick another library just for demonstration. I'll figure that out later. But let's look at sales data. So I'm going to write sales here. You can run anything. Previously we did jobs. Somehow it didn't work. Looks like my data is corrupted there. So let's try to run it again. Same thing. You can name this anything you want. Test 1, 2, 3, whatever, right? But let's keep it as it is, so that for consistency, right? So let's run it. And again, it is giving me some sort of issues, and I don't know what this is. Okay, so so let's turn into jobs then. So different data set. Okay, great. So sales has some sort of issue here. This data set. Jobs seems to be the same thing. So okay, so it's okay. So you try it out. So once everything is done, it will say 100%, 100%, 100%, and you should see a file somewhere, something like this. And you should see that your thing should have appeared here somewhere, data profile, wherever you're running the file from. Let's open that. And the beauty of it is it's quite elaborate, and obviously it'll tell you the missing cells, duplicate rows, the unique distinct counts, minimum, maximum. Sometimes also for the job title column, it'll give you some word cloud, some interactions, obviously, different information, different statistics, sampling, and so forth. You can look at a lot of missing values here, sample, interactions, variables. So if you have a large amount of data, this will also give us some information about some alerts, minimum, maximum salary, and so forth. I mean, there's no right or wrong answer based on this, but at least it'll give you something. So again, in this one, we learned how to connect, and obviously once you bring it to Python, the world is yours. Good luck and enjoy.